Hey, folks. In this episode of Hacking Attention, we talk about stand up comedy. But this is not your typical episode. There's a lot of swearing, there are intense stories, there are sensitive topics, including religion, suicide, and family conflict. If you're not okay with that, this episode may not be for you. You've been warned. To another episode of Hacking Attention. I am doing the mandatory fat man shirt tug so that my belly doesn't show. I'm your host, Arvindh, and joining me today is Aaquib. Aaquib, please introduce yourself, mate.
Hello. Hi, my name is Aaquib Jaleel. I have been a stand-up comedian for the last 9 years now. And yes,
Are you
and
serious?
yeah, I'm not even kidding. It's been
Fucking
9 years.
awesome.
Yeah, 9 years of stand-up. Realized that stand-up was not just making me enough bread, but I am also a huge nerd. Love Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, um, a lot, any kind of RPG, I'm down to play. I have been running D&D for about like D&D games for about like I would say 3 to 4 years now,
Wonderful.
and I am currently one of the managers at Zoliv's plug-in for myself and for my company.
Hooah! I think that's what the Marines say, yes.
Yeah, and we are a hobby store there, and I'm one of the managers there.
Fucking awesome. And just with that intro, I feel like it's just the end of October, but Christmas came early, right? So we have stand-up comedy for 9 years, and then we have TTRPGs, and then we have hobby stores. Okay. We're totally going to be unpacking them. Let's get into that and tell me, how did you get started with stand-up comedy? And that too for 9 years, Macha. That's a long time.
Yeah, so one of the reasons that I began like stand-up was because I come from a very conservative family, and a lot of the things that I was taught or I was brought up with was very conservative values, and
Same pitch.
and that usually what happens, I felt very constricted at home, very like, oh, I couldn't really talk about a lot of things, and then I remember this was like uh, what is this like just before going to college, friends, he came up to me and said like, hey man, you're like really funny. And I was just like, and that like some serotonin part of my brain was like, oh,
Really? Wow.
and I was like, you should do this thing that there is this place where you can go and you can tell jokes. And I'm like, I have never told a joke in my life, I thought, right? Like I was just like, oh, that is funny. Oh, that I was that dude. And I was like, oh, I'm a big dude. So there was like a lot of fat jokes
How tall
happening.
are you?
I'm about 5. On Tinder 6'2", on real life 5'8". I'm
Okay.
5. Yeah.
All right, cool. I'm not going to ask you the other question. Go on.
But no, so the thing was like I went and it was like I saw like all these comics go up on stage, and they were bad. Like they were just bad. Like all of them, like because all of them are new. Like everybody's like trying
So
out,
this is
right?
like at an open mic or
At an
something?
open mic, yeah. And I saw this, and my confidence started going up and up and up. I was just like, oh my God, I'm the funniest human being on this planet just before going on stage, right? Because I just saw the shit that was happening, right? I go up on stage and I have no material written. I have zero context to any of this. I don't know how a joke format works yet.
Right.
And I go up on stage and I go like, my dad's an asshole, because that was the only thing I could think about that day. And I said that on stage, and there was nothing. There was zero laughter. Like there was just awkward silence. And then one dude in the front went like, and that was like crack to me, dude. I was just like, this is some feeling that, and like obviously, I bombed that first day. Obviously, first time performing, bombed the whole day. Second week, I was like, I'm coming back. I want a spot, so I go back. I perform again, bomb harder. Third week, harder. Fourth week, harder. But for some reason, I'm keeping on coming back, and I think for I believe a year, I would keep going there. I would keep trying to do new material. because in my brain, the way it worked was, oh, you have to keep telling new jokes. Otherwise, you're going to. e- So I would just keep writing. So I would keep going, and every week, and we had only like one mic in Chennai during that time. That was the only thing that like I look forward to it every week. It was one of those one of the few places, even though I bombed regularly, it wasn't, and it wasn't normal bombing. I mean, like it was just dead silence. There was, dude. At one point, I remember some audiences just going like, "Oh my god, it's this dude again!" Like genuinely, there was that reaction happen. Yeah, and the fact, but the good thing was, I would help out after shows and like just because I was like, I know I fucked up, but
Hmm.
I don't want to not do next week's spot. So I think in my power to just be like, okay, I have to like figure this out. I have to like, and I think that whole year I sucked. And somebody finally came up to me and said, like, hey, you're angry all the time. Just need to like chill, like write jokes, dude. Why are you so angry? Like you have to stop talking about your dad at some point in this year. And like I think after that, like we finally like I wrote like a joke.
Hold on. Before we go there, I want to clarify some things, right?
Mm.
For people who don't know, can you explain what is an open mic?
So an open mic is basically the way I like to call it is a net practice for cricket, right? It is you are supposed to crash and burn. You are supposed to like test out material. You are just trying to hone whatever craft you have. And usually people don't pay for open mics, but currently there are places like currently the way it works is there are people who pay for an open mic where they're coming in watching for a ticketed show.
So people are paying to have a slot, or they're people to come and they're paying
So
to come and
usually,
watch?
so thankfully in South, it
Uh huh.
is more. Uh, if you're a performer, you're performing for free. Generally, there are very few mics, which is like there'll be something called a bringer mic where you're supposed to bring a plus one, or there is like if you're going to a bar, you have to pay for the cover charge just to get in.
Let's come back. All right. So you know somebody said like you got to like chill out, and then you started writing your jokes, and then
Yeah.
what happened?
So I'll be honest. Like for me, stand up was a place where the reason I kept going back was
Hmm.
because I could talk about the things that piss me off. And a lot of the times it had a lot to do with my family. I
Hmm.
got older, obviously that has shifted. But that one year I think was necessary for me to just okay, it's all that disgusting things out of my body. And then I started jokes. I think I'm still really bad at writing jokes. And the reason is because for me, it is important to experience life and then talk about whatever has happened in my life. If that doesn't happen, then jokes don't show up, right?
Hold on. I've seen many stand-up shows like Fluffy and George Carlin and Trevor Noah, right? There's also, dude, I forgot his name, Daniel
Daniel
Sloss,
Sloss, yeah.
and there's this other, I think Brennan, I think Daniel Brennan, I can't remember his name. He's the one
Neil
who does like
Brennan.
the Neil Brennan. Thank
Uh,
you. Like these are my favorite genre, and you can see that's like about maybe 3 years of therapy right there. But my question to you is, but all these guys, they seem to have like a similar approach to stand up, right? Which is like experience life and then tell stories from that. But what you're saying, are you saying the same thing?
it's actually really weird because for me, Trevor Noah is somebody who's just a brilliant writer, right? Like, I do agree that a lot of it is. This is my favorite, sorry,
Go
my
for it.
favorite example of writing comedy comes from a terrible person, but like still somebody that I look to when I think about stand up is Louis
Uh
C.K. Okay. Yeah,
huh.
I know. There's a lot to unpack here. Okay.
We will.
Terrible human being, but very, very funny, right? So the thing that he talks about this during the George Carlin, like his, I believe,
Tribute.
like his wake or like his tribute or something like that.
Right.
He talks a lot about like writing comedy was basically What do you write about first? The things that you see. Then what else can you talk about? The people that piss you off. Then what can you talk about? Yourself. Then, but after a point of time, that's all you have. Like yourself is gone. So now you have to rip out another new layer and another new layer. So you basically constantly, at one point, it's almost like when, like, you know, that triangle Maslow's hierarchy where it has reached. Then what you, at one point you're just talking about meta shit to the point where people are looking at you and saying, "Are you a crazy person?" But like, that time took a lot of heart when it came to like writing. Like I feel like a lot of comics go through that journey of like, oh, let's just talk about these weird observations we've seen in life, and then it goes to like talking about themselves more. Then it goes to about uh, like concepts that they have been thinking about and like how humans interact with it, right? I feel like Trevor Noah is somebody I believe who looks at news and look a lot of what is happening around in the world and
Right.
observations on it, right?
Right.
My favorite
Like John Oliver.
yeah, like a lot like John Oliver, and because they're both
Same thing.
yeah. My
They're both
favorite,
white.
no, I was gonna say they're both white, but like they're not.
I don't think so. I think Trevor Noah is what, South African,
He's
isn't he?
South African, yes.
Right. Yeah. White, brown.
But his take on like Trump, for example, that he says that Trump is for comedy is like an asteroid that is heading in the earth that is in the shape of a penis. So because it's funny already, you can't really make more fun of it. But like this kind of nonsense stuff. Like I think that's one thing that like I realized with my writing specifically. I haven't been able to I'm not somebody who can have a good take on something. For me, it's more like this experience has happened to me and I want to showcase that to people.
Mm-hmm.
And it just becomes stories a lot of the
Mm.
times. The comic that I am most connected to for this one is it's such a sad thing, but it is fluffy because I feel like because one thing is we're both big dudes and I'm very energetic on stage.
You are? Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of that comes from the fact that like I think for me, if I'm having fun and I feel like Fluffy also does the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Because when he's on stage, it's just
It's like contagious energy, you know?
exactly like the fact that he's smiling. I know he like the stories that he's telling is so real for him, right?
Right.
Even when he goes into like stuff that like his last special, if I remember correctly, he talks about how he meets his dad again. And it is so
Real,
funny
man.
and but
Yes.
it's just the realist that you see for comics. And
Right.
that's why I think like for me that's what I want. Like I want to be
Right.
authentic as hell. Right.
Fair enough. I'm going to kind of zoom out a little bit and ask you if there are like categories of stand-up comedy, right? Because I remember like back in the day, there would be people who would have like index cards full of jokes and one-liners, right? And then, you know, we have people who are sharing their stories, right? About themselves, about whatever they observe, about, you know, shit that's wrong in the world. And then who's that really dark comedian I follow? I forget names, man. I have ADHD. I can't remember shit. But he's this British guy. He's very rich. His dark material. What's his name?
Or Jimmy Carr.
Jimmy Carr.
I was like rich
Right.
guy with a weird life.
Yes. But dude, some like I follow him on Instagram and he's got like some of like the most wholesome clips ever. I'm like, dude, Jimmy Carr's giving life advice. What the fuck is wrong with this universe? But anyways, are there other kinds of stand-up comedy as well?
I think so, yeah. Because like it's the thing with stand up for me.
You don't have to qualify it. This is all about you. That's
know.
it. Go for it.
I do that all the time. But for me, it's important that like, hey, it's my opinion, not other.
Yeah. Cool.
But for me, I think stand up has like, oh, there is dark, there is observational, who only does stories. So that like the style is a lot of categories, but I feel like it's weird to put comics into, oh, here's a dark comic. For example,
Right.
Daniel Sloss is not only a dark comic. He says a lot of dark shit. But
He
I
does.
would also say like he is very story driven. Right?
He's also very likable for some reason.
he says some of the gnarliest stuff, but the fact is, you still,
Like
you
the
still.
shit. You remember that bit about his sister and the car crash? I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with
Dude,
him?
that garden bit is my favorite. So for all of you who don't know, this is my favorite bit of Daniel's Lost, where he's like, his, uh, his parents are watering this garden, like this area where his sister is in the coffin, okay, and they're just like tidying up everything, and there's like a lot of weeds and stuff like that. And his father goes, we should probably trim her bush now. And that is like, what is happening, right? And you know that he knows that these kind of jokes evoke a lot of emotion, but he loves doing them because he's like, this is what happens to me. This I watch. Oh, and cool thing about Daniel Sloss. Did you know that he opened for Critical Role once?
Are you
Yeah,
serious?
that it
That's
blew
like
my
the ultimate
fucking mind.
crossover.
I was just like, holy shit, what is happening?
Is this in season 4?
No, no, no. It's not in season 4.
Okay,
This is an
earlier.
old campaign, and it was for a live show.
All right.
If you find the
Okay.
clip, please,
I
please look
will.
it
I
up. It's
will.
very fun.
Right. Okay. Coming back. So you started writing jokes
Yeah, I started
and you
writing
were sharing
jokes.
stories.
Hmm. Uh, the the oh my god, this is so stupid.
All good stories begin that way.
Yeah. No, the thing was, I think the first joke. It's
Hmm.
weird because I've been talking a lot of shit about my dad, but I think the first joke I wrote about him was me and him. Like the joke. This was like, okay, I want to talk about this. Was when we both started fighting after the fact that I said I wanted to do stand up for the rest of my life. This was a genuine thing that happened where me and my dad got into this argument 5 o'clock in the morning. After morning prayers, I look at him like, it's a year after doing stand up. I look at my dad and I said like, Dad, I want to do stand up comedy for the rest of my life. And my looked at me and said, he said, you need to get a degree first. And I'm like, stand up. He was like, degree. I was like, stand up. He was like, degree. And finally, I got so annoyed with this conversation that I gave him a protractor. Because it,
Die.
that was the
Die.
first. That was the first good joke I wrote. But it is
Hmm.
something I still do today, that bit specifically, and it has become a lot larger. And it
Embellished,
is
of
one
course.
of course, embellished. At the end of the day, it's an act, not not always the
Okay.
truth. This
Hey,
was a
let's
bit of
let's
truth.
let's unpack that bit. Okay. At the
Mm,
end of the day, it's an act and embellishment.
mm,
Does authenticity
mm.
mean I have to be 100% honest, or can I throw in some masala?
Always, a lot of people think that just because a comic embellishes a story,
Hmm?
that it loses authenticity. I am not of that opinion. There's always there is the anchor of the story is always real. So if you're looking at the bit about my dad, there's so much. There is this. There is this whole section where me and him fight, and it's my like one member of my family coming in, them interacting with the fight. What actually happened would have been like 15 seconds of shouting at each other and then leaving because that's what families are.
Of
Uh,
course.
but
Cage match in concrete and cement.
but the point of that was that even though I embellished that story, a lot of people do come back and say like, I like, is your relationship with your dad the way you've described it? Like, yeah, it is. Like, because there's a lot of anger there. There's a lot of like pain there. There's a lot of difference of
Macha,
opinion there.
Indian parents da
Yeah,
disappointment.
of course. You think my dad loves the fact that I'm in Put the Player First podcast? You think
Touche,
he's
motherfucker.
you think he's just waiting?
एक दिन होएगा.
But like but yeah, no, because my dad knows that I do stand up, and thankfully like we have a better relationship now. But like he, his opinion about stand up hasn't changed. And that story has changed so much, dude. Like it is one of my favorite stories to tell. I, the character of my father has grown also,
Right.
and that's one thing that where I'm like, embellishments doesn't mean lies. It just means it's just to make that character larger. That's all
Got
it
it.
is. So the is going to be there. It's just fleshed out a little bit more. It's a little bit weirder. It's a little bit off shape, it's still him. Exactly.
All right. So go on. Where did your joke writing journey take you?
It took me to a lot of weird places, actually. There is, I started talking a lot about the things that happened in my life. After a point, I realized that there's more to joke writing also. So I started writing more. There are jokes that were more crafted to getting a laugh out of people, right? I used to be the guy who's like, oh, shock value means they will laugh because I'm edgy. Oh, like even these people who are doing shock value jokes have written amazing jokes, right? So that the idea slowly started narrowing and narrowing to the point where I realized, like, oh, this is a joke. Like, this is how you can craft a joke. Like, oh, make sure your premise isn't too long.
Wait. We'll unpack about that. But you specifically used the word narrowing, right? Was that an intentional refinement, or was that
It wasn't.
something because of what the market wanted?
So no, for me, I'm. This is just. This has to be a thing, and I think a lot of comics lose an essence on this. Is write to what you want, not to what the market wants. Because I feel, especially in India, the bigger comedians right now, the reason that they are big is because they have figured out that this is their voice and this is what they're going to do. A lot of comics, right? And I think that wasn't because they were like, oh, this is what the market wants. That was never. They found that audience somehow.
Right.
I feel like a lot of comics lose out on that. And I believe in that as well. I believe that if you don't write to your experiences or to what you want it specifically to be, you're not going to be funny. What you're going to be is corporate friendly, which is genuinely a lot of comics do have that, and it has worked out for them. I don't think it is a great way to experience your comic journey because for me it's but this is also jealousy because I'm genuinely jealous of these people making money. They do have like a corporate friendly persona, and
What does corporate friendly mean in the world of stand up?
so I have about I have a special. It's called Stupid, about an hour worth of content. Okay, you can't talk about religion. 35 minutes of my hour is gone. You can't talk about sex. 30 minutes of my my hour is gone. You can't say fuck. 5% more of my hour is gone. So 10 minutes of friendly content left. Okay. They usually don't like talk about religion. Oh, sorry, politics. 5 more minutes of my
Hallelujah.
time is gone.
Can you talk about bosses and make fun of them?
That's something that they generally ask you to do, and like, hey, pull the leg of this person. But I have had like a lot of. It's weird, but I have had a lot of corporates saying like, our boss is here. Do not talk to him or engage with him. That has also happened. And usually the reasons that they ask you, like, corporates are generally a harsh space for comics. It's that we are very restricted with the kind of content we're allowed to say. The worst part is if the show. So, okay, there's a story for this. I did a show at Bleep College, okay? Fuck that college. And I went with two other comics, those guys also. And what happened was we did a Onam celebration show for,
Okay.
and they are doing these like college events, like they're having these songs, they're having these dance, and
Oh,
we
like
are
a
the
college fest.
yeah, college fest, and we are the final, like we are the main
Headliner.
headliners of the show. And these two guys, the two other comics with me, decide to smoke up before the event happens. By the way, I'm 100% like I need to be very very sober before going up on stage because I don't know what's gonna happen, right?
Fair enough.
And professional courtesy.
Yeah,
Like,
I respect that.
Yeah. So I go. These two go up on stage and they burn and crash. They die on stage. Okay, like one guy goes up on stage and talks. How many of you people are suicidal? And there's zero. It's Onam celebration, by the way. And I'm just like, why?
Wrong one.
It's too much. And then the second guy goes up on stage and he's humping the air randomly, and I'm just standing in the back thinking like, this is going to end really badly for me, isn't it?
Right.
Because these guys both come back and they're like, bro, this audience is amazing. They're like laughing so much, and I'm like standing there like, No, they weren't, bro. And they're telling me, bro, at the end of the show, we're going to like put music and it's going to be insane. Just stay there, okay? Just stay there. And I'm like, cool. Go up on stage. I have 45 minutes of content that I have to do now because of these guys crashing burning 5. And I was like, fuck it. They have paid me to perform. I will perform. I started performing. The first thing I did was shit on the both of them immediately. And thankfully, though there was like one layer of the first row who's listening.
Habba.
And then I was like, okay, I don't care about the rest. These guys are with me. I will start performing. I started performing. I did about 45 minutes. Worst, worst set I've ever had because there was like a lot of noise and I saw like this group of like blue shirted individuals. They go out and go towards the green room. And I'm just like, fuck, what is happening? But I was like, fine, it's fine, whatever. I finished my 45 minutes. I said, thank you very much. And thankfully, the front row was with me, clapping and hooting. And I was like, I'm happy that I got to do this. And as I'm sitting, I go to the green room. There are these tall, hulking students who have cornered these two people. Oh, by the way, before I go off, I thought they were going to play music, so I just stood there for a couple of minutes. And then I went back very awkward. I go in, and there's this bunch of students, and the three of us are just like, I go and I sit. I'm sweating because that's how I perform. So I'm just sweating. I'm like, how I look at these guys, I look at and these two stoned out of their mind going like, sorry. And then they take out this bag of about 10,000 rupees and give it to these guys. And I'm looking at that bag of 10,000 rupees going to them. And I was like, is that my money?
Holy shit.
And like, I was just genuinely like, that was, by the way, the worst kind. But this is the kind of show that happens where I didn't get paid at the end of the day. They took the bus. So I had to like call my mom.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So
damn.
I was going to make money that day. Money was for
use that for travel.
Travel and everything. Right. I was like, oh, we'll party afterwards and it'll be fun. I had to call my mom and tell her, like, hey, I'm at this place in Preep College. Can you like send me money? And she's like, were you making money for the show? And I was like, there were some problems.
Right.
But like this kind of corporate thing where this was a genuine problem where it was the comics that were the issue, right? Because
Fair
they
enough.
obviously didn't understand the context of the show.
Right.
Where it was supposed to be very clean and it was supposed to just make fun of the students at Max and do a lot of crowd work like that. And that's how you would generally handle a college crowd. But there have been shows where, like, I was at a show where, like, the guy came and he was like, okay, I want you to take breaks in between, go up there, perform for 5 minutes and come back, which is a bad idea for stand-up in general.
Yeah, you lose that momentum, wouldn't you?
Momentum. And people are, like, I hate doing this, but, like, if a comic is performing, just stop service for, like, an hour or 30 minutes. The best way to make sure that the audience has a good time, the comic has a good time, and the show is.
It breaks that immersion otherwise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think the my favorite corporate show was when the guy came up to me and he said, "Yeah, bro, you say whatever you want." So I went up on stage and I said whatever I wanted. I have this joke about it's like a stereotype about Muslims and then there's a flip for it. I'll tell the joke. It's fine.
Go for it. We have a statutory warning.
If you're my mom or dad, please look away. And the joke goes that me and my dad play Counter-Strike every day. And my dad looks at me and he says, like, hey, join terrorist. And I was like, why? And he was like, terrorism is like IIT. And I was like, how? And he was like, same suicide rates.
Oh, fuck it.
I love telling this joke. I love telling this joke to Muslims because they laugh the hardest. Because they think it's an IIT joke. It's a Muslim.
They think it's an. Oh my God.
Like, this joke was what I said on stage, okay?
Right.
After a couple of seconds, my mic cuts off. idea.
Holy shit.
So it's like, that was my fault. Should have read the room. Should have been a little bit more careful. But they also said, say whatever you want, and I believe
Yeah,
them.
it's in the contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, verbal contract, I guess. And they were like,
course.
oh, you can't talk about suicide with that. I'm like, listen, guys, it's not a Muslim joke. It's an IIT joke. And when an IIT comes, I'm like, bro, it's not an IIT joke. It's a Muslim joke. Chill the fuck up.
So tell me more about reading a room. How does that work?
So usually the idea is when you're looking at a group of people, there is a couple of signs that you can see that they're comfortable with the kind of jokes that you're saying, or you're not comfortable with the kind of jokes that you're saying. The best way to read it, I've noticed, is this. They are sitting like this. They're closed off. They don't want to laugh. They are feeling uncomfortable. What I like to do is I hate making people feel bad. I don't uncomfortable. I don't want bad for being. So like when a joke is being written, I love Patrice O'Neill. He's one of my favorite comics. The
Who?
thing that his name is Patrice O'Neill. He had the best way to deal with this. He was like, I don't want 100% of my audience to be comfortable. I want to be comfortable, and the other 50% not to be comfortable. That weird sine wave has to happen, right?
Okay.
Because that way you can break tension and it keep changing and fluctuating.
Okay.
So usually what I do is if people are like this, I tell them like, hey, it's okay. It's just a show. Put your hands down. Be more open to getting jokes your way. And if not willing to, like, they're like, oh no, I'm just comfortable like this, I'm just comfortable like this. I tend to not overstep into anything. Another thing that you'll notice is some people genuinely just have it in their face. You look at a person's face and you're like, okay, they are really not liking what you're saying. What we do is we try to pivot. So like as a comic, if I notice that like a lot of dark jokes aren't working, but okay with dirty jokes, I go to a little bit more dirty jokes.
So you'll change your material at runtime?
I like improving, so you happens is like it keeps making
meanders.
It meanders to the next. The idea being, I want them to get to know me first, know that I'm funny, so that even if I'm digging a hole, I can get out of it. Like they just have to be okay with me to get to
in that journey.
Level. In that journey, of like, okay, this joke is weird. It gets so weird, but it's okay. It's weird. That kind of jokes where it just gets very strange. It gets very weird, and it gets a place that's uncomfortable, but there is a payoff for it. It requires them to trust you for a bit, and I think that's how you read a room, where you're like, get them to know who you are. Accept that you are funny, and then you can take them onto a journey.
Okay. I'm just going to step back a little bit and then just kind of like summarize my key takeaways that I've had so far before we move on, right? So one thing I've learned is, in that Onam show that you did, you went on stage and, you had to shit on the two comics who went ahead of you, but that did win you the affection of the front row of people, right? So what I'm hearing is if we can attack a common enemy, right, then it becomes you and me versus that thing as opposed to you versus me, right? So that's one thing. Second thing is reading the room itself. We can look for various clues about people's demeanor, people's behavior, people's mindset, and we can gently prod it. But, if we encounter too much of resistance, then we kind of back off. And we can read the cues that people are giving. It could be nonverbal. In case of stand-up, it is nonverbal, right? Body language, facial expressions.
Unless somebody says, stop, which just happened.
So you can use that to, carve through attention as well. And yes, we've been speaking a lot about stand-up comics and stand-up comedy itself. And we've been looking at different ways of communicating this information, right? It could be through those one-liners, could be observational, it could be situational. You mentioned crowd work as well, which, I'll ask about later, and about telling stories. But one thing that's also stood out for me is that in your journey, you found that being and a slightly caricaturized, I'm using that in a polite way, right? Like a embellished or a accentuated way of your personality and presenting that in the stand-up space is something that helps people kind of like hook on to what you have to say. Is that accurate?
Exactly. Very accurate.
Awesome. So, I think now would be actually a great time to talk about jokes, because jokes are hilarious. No shit. But I've also found that it's also ridiculously hard, right? For the longest time, like I was in something called Toastmasters. It's a public speaking leadership sort of a thing, doing the circuit, to win like a speaking competition and whatnot. And jokes were like the hardest thing ever, right? I've been told I'm funny, but I just could not for the life of me connect, Lay it on me, man. How does one write a joke to be funny?
So this is a very interesting thing because I know a lot of comics Toastmasters.
It's a gateway drug.
It is a very much a gateway drug. Like one of the biggest comics that is in India right now, Alex.
Yeah, Alex in Wonderland.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Alexander Pop.
Yeah.
What became one of the, like right now, one of the hugest performers in the world simply because I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that his Toastmaster journey helped him a lot. I think a lot of people misconstrue jokes as the first draft is, it feels very impromptu, right? When you watch a show, a really good, well-crafted show, you'll be like, oh God, he's written these jokes. He's crafted this joke spontaneously, right? You're a fan of Jimmy Carr, right?
I am. His crowd work's legendary.
His crowd work is.
But your mom looks like a painter's radio or something. I think that was.
No, my favorite is not that. My favorite is. Where's the comeback? And like you can scrape it off your mother's. That is that. And my friend, that is written. It is crafted.
Are you serious?
That everything that man writes, he thinks about fucking 20, 30. He would have had this because he's done so many shows. He's done so many open mics. At one point, no heckler is original. Okay, all hecklers are the fucking same after a point. You kinds of jokes, and you can write comebacks for it. You can create.
I'm never going to look at comeback the same. I'm just saying. On his comeback tour.
Should I be scraping it off some mother's teeth?
God.
No, but like that's the thing that happens with stand-up is that over time you can create these moments and create it very well, right? So a lot of people think that crowd work has a lot to do with a lot of it can be spontaneous. I agree.
Sure.
But a lot of it does come down to having heard it before. So a lot of joke writing itself construct those moments.
Understood.
For example, I have this joke about Hindi, right? Let's break down this joke. Okay, it's a very simple joke, but it also has a crowd work element to it. Okay, the way the joke works, I ask the crowd, "How many of you guys speak Hindi? Are you all comfortable in Hindi?" And I say, "I'm not comfortable in Hindi. I don't understand this language. It is one of the weirdest languages I have ever been in before." I tried speaking Hindi recently. I called my Uber driver in Mumbai and I was like, I'm going to speak in Hindi, become the next Prime Minister. Okay, Narendra Jaleel, Jai Shri Allah. And I get on.
Pacha, you're fucking running blindfolded through a fucking minefield.
It's the best.
Anyways.
It's the best. They just get confused, right? And then I said, Bhaiya, kahan hai Bhaiya? And I'm so proud. I look at all the other Bhaiyas. I'm like, Bhaiya, Behin. And then that guy starts talking to me in Hindi. I'm like, Ayyo, Bhaiya. Bhaiya, kitch direction, Bhaiya. Kitch is not even a word in Hindi. He pauses for a couple of seconds. I pause for a couple of seconds. And then he's like, Tamil, And I'm just like,
Anna, what?
But at this point, this guy gets very annoyed and he looks at me and he says, Lauda. I'm just like, why did you call me Lauda? And I don't know him. So I thought Lauda just meant yeah. So then I asked the crowd, like, okay, you guys will know Hindi, right? Hey, do you know Hindi? Yeah, do you know Hindi?
I do.
Could you ask me any personal question, anything that you want in Hindi, please?
आपने आज खाना खाया क्या?
Khana khaya kya? I have the answer. Very simple. Lauda. So this literally, like this kind of nonsense is what I'm talking about, right?
Right.
Where it is, the joke has been constructed. There is like an inbuilt crowd work element to it, and it all sounds like when the audience is listening to this bit, like, oh, it is spontaneous. Oh, he didn't want to craft it like that. Maybe he could have gotten many different answers, but the answer is always the same because then the setup is there, the punchline is there, then it is also placed within
Delivery
the
of the
that
joke.
joke also. I think with joke writing, that's the point, right? Make sure the premise is very short. Make sure the punchline hits very hard. If you want, add a crowd work element that makes it look spontaneous. So usually that's how I think about joke writing most of the
Let's
time.
I want to deconstruct this a little bit as well,
Mhm.
right? So if you had to give me like a step by step
Mhm.
checklist on how to write a joke, that look like.
First thing I realize, uh, what is your premise for your joke?
Okay, what does that mean?
This premise basically means this is the heart or the anchor of your joke. This is what your world is, the rules of your world of this joke, and it has to be the shortest part of your joke. So
Okay.
that is what the premise. The second thing I would look at is what is the punchline. After the premise has been set up, how long is the punchline? It can come in multiple ways. I am of the opinion, a lot of comics' opinions are varied in this. A lot of
Sure.
people say every 30 seconds you need to have a joke.
Right.
I am of the opinion that uh, if the joke is worthwhile, point to this punchline, right? Even if it's a 2 minute lengthy punchline, it is still worth it to explore because that punchline at the end gives you a huge laugh.
Right.
And the third thing is what are the things that you can craft within the joke. Okay. So is there callback ability within that joke? The tick mark to it. Is there is it a good is it a good middle joke or a good beginning joke or a good end joke? So
Okay.
usually what happens is whenever you have usually in an open mic you're only having 5 minutes, so you can only do one joke. But if you're
Right.
headlining an act, you'll have about 15 minutes to 20 minutes.
Got it.
So in that context, is this a good starting show joke or is this a good ending show joke?
How do you find that out?
Every joke that you repetition, it's just that you say it
Okay.
as many times as I have written all these jokes like for years now, right?
Okay.
And every time I've written it, it keeps changing. I've
Okay.
realized that over time, like, okay, for my special stupid, for example, I have three different endings for it right now, and every ending has been crafted to either make sense or like connected in a way that allows me to like it's the way I think about it is okay. This joke when I did it last month did not hit as hard as this joke that I did in the middle. Restructure that hour that way.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, I think like repetition is what causes you to understand. Like
And you get this repetition when you go for like open mics and all that?
open mics shows because uh, in Bangalore right now you can hit 5 mics a day.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's like and that too if you just sit in one place you can hit 5 mics a day. There are 1,000 venues, like not thousand, like there's a bunch, like a
A lot
lot
of
of
venues.
venues where you
Right.
can go and you can perform at.
Hmm.
And there is like there is an abundance of comics. It's a little hard for you, but generally, uh, if you can get like one spot, you can at least get 2 to 3 spots a day through
Okay.
the entire like every day. Which will allow you to at least get 20 to 30 minutes of content a day.
And you can like test out all the various bits.
You're going to be a new audience. It's not audience that you will see every
Right,
day.
right, right, right.
Especially in MG Road, if you go,
Huh?
there's like a bunch of venues, and the audience just keeps. I have never seen the same face more than once.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Oh, that's dope.
it's always.
I'm terrified of going to these stand-up shows because what if they pick on me?
I don't understand. What is this logic? Of course they're going to pick on you. You
Yeah.
have a tattoo. Of course they're going to. They'll be, why do you have an octopus on your arm, bro? Like nonsense like that. Why would they not?
Yeah. But you know, I have like two last questions, okay, before we wind up this conversation. And both of these are tied to your skill as a stand-up as well. Now, different people have different upbringings, different worldviews, and different perspectives, right? And as a result, the amount of overlap that we have with someone else will vary. That you and I, we have surprisingly a lot of overlap, right? Because we love TTRPGs, we love hobbies, stand up too. I'm a very passionate admirer from afar, and
Will
hopefully
be
I
doing
shall
soon.
enter the
Yeah.
arena. Yes, but they're also like let's say we contrast this with my wife, right? She loves like the interior decoration side of like Instagram, and she likes K dramas and stuff like that. So there is very little overlap. So when you walk into a room, right, it is unlikely that you will know who's the audience, right? Especially if you're going to like an open mic or something. Then how do you figure out what is that overlap? Because you need that empathy, right? Otherwise you can't capture their attention. So, is there something that you do in your material? Is there some research that you do beforehand? How do you handle not knowing who the audience is? And my assumption is that is important because otherwise the jokes are not going to land.
I think a lot of people think that empathy comes from middle ground. I don't think so. I think empathy
Fuck.
comes from willing to go with you. You have to just be willing to plunge the depths with that comic. And that's why I love open mics. I don't know how anyone is going to react to what I'm going to say. Right? I have this bit that I've been thinking about for a while about uh, existence itself is meaningless, and therefore, even if you become famous, your legacy does not matter, right? It is a weird concept already in the sense of like it feels out of place at a stand-up competition. But I wanted to explore this. The place I can explore this is at an open mic. These practice nets for me. I'm hoping the best that I can achieve is that they did not say anything after the
Fair.
with regards to open mics. That's how I treat it. It is empathy only comes from the fact that they all understand that open mics are is a place for people to say what they want and figure out how to hone that craft. Right? That's where that empathy comes from for open mics. In a show, it is very different. Right? If I'm doing my special and I'm like, okay, people are coming to watch this hour, right? The first thing that I do is present to them who I am. Is
Why?
as present to them who I am. That's all.
Who I am? Sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
who I
Go
am.
on.
And it's as simple as saying, hi, I'm Aaquib Jaleel. I've been doing stand up for the last 9 years, and only I know I have been doing it for the last 9 years. Nobody else. Right? It's a simple putting down of who I am to them to show that, like, listen, I'm going to be vulnerable to you, and you have the ability to accept this right now.
Okay.
And that is, I think, that is what I come for when it comes for a ticketed show, where I start with who I am. I start with jokes that I know for a fact isn't meant to make them think about anything, isn't meant to make them feel uncomfortable. It's just a fun thing that they want to do, right? And that, if that is also accepted by them, then it goes into the next level of, okay, now I have opinions. Talk about opinions. There will be different opinions for this, but you know who I am, and that's why I'm saying these things. And this is my reasoning for why people, when they watch YouTube, a comic, they're not part of his journey at all. So when I talk about my dad and the things that my dad has done, and they only see that one joke, that the IIT joke that
Protractor.
I've done, or
Okay.
the protractor joke is
I'm
great.
gifting
I
you a
don't.
protractor the next time I see you.
Please, I would be very thankful for this. Right? They only see that aspect of that joke, right? They only those 30 seconds. They have been there for that 1 hour where I would have presented who my dad is. I would have
Right.
presented who I am. So that is
That
the issue.
context.
That context isn't there for them. So that YouTube video becomes so much more in capsule to like, oh, I hate this. I do not like it. And they don't realize, hey, you weren't there for that whole other journey that was happening. You don't know who I am. You don't know who my dad is. You don't know with my dynamics with my father. For all you know, these are jokes that I say to my father. What is your problem, right? The reason I'm bringing this up is because I wanted to talk about this as well. Is that I had this video, these jokes were there in that video. It was called My Muslim Father, right? It was on Evam Standup Tamasha for a while, and it got taken down. The reason it got, and it had like 127K views and things like that. It was for me, it was a very important video because it was one of my first videos that I put out, and it gathered a lot of attention. Right? And what happened to that video was it became. I cringe at that video still, right? Because that was a much more younger version of who I am. I think that I didn't really understand a lot of nuances of joke telling. But I also still see like links to see the comments. The comments were just trashing me throughout. There was like, oh, you Muslim hater. Oh, you like the. There was like a lot of Muslims who felt very uncomfortable with the way that I was talking about the religion, right? And there is a bit in that, I'm not going to repeat that bit, but that is the one that got the most hate where I do the azan and then I beatbox for it. And it was meant to be very fun and very like chill thing, but like people misconstrued it as me being hateful towards it. And one of the things that happened was like I was going through the comments, and I understood the hate, like because I'm like, okay, I understand why you not like this video. I understand why you, because it made you feel a certain way. But there was also comments that said things like they were very right wing, and they were using my video as a way to say, yeah, you should shit on Muslims.
Ah, fuck.
And that was the point where I was a little like, okay, I can see how this can be misconstrued so heavily on either side. The idea of the content was more about a thing that I experienced as a Muslim in India, and like the weird things that happen with me and my father. That was all it is. But the fact that it got misconstrued made me think like, oh shit. And then there was like a lot of like just general death threats online, that usual nonsense. It came to the point where they were calling me because my phone number was obviously on
Of course.
It became a lot of hate to deal with. And I had to I finally was just like, listen, I'm done. I can't handle this. And I feel like it's one of those things where I wish I didn't take down the video. I wish it was still there. The part of me is thinking that if I was able to, because attention keeps changing, attention keeps shifting, like your old
bread and circuses.
Exactly. And I think it was one of those things where I wish I had like, I wish I had the balls to like just keep that video on, And it was one of those things where I wish it I feel like it would have changed a lot of what I am doing currently. Like I feel like stand-up would have been viable. That's something I'd like to say. Like
as a career choice?
As a career choice, yeah, exactly. I feel like because right now I am struggling with stand-up as such. Like it's interesting to know that like maybe, but I'm also thinking if I didn't do that, then I wouldn't have this understanding.
You would be here today. Yeah. Thank you for sharing this with me. I know it couldn't have been easy, but if it's any solace, I think the age of careers is dead. Like, where we had a career as a ladder. No, I'm serious. I think it's more of a portfolio of careers that we'll need to manage going forward. Because, I don't want to give away the best years of my life to one master, so to speak. I have a 3D printer running right now. I have like a whole bunch of board games that I'm working on. There's my design kit. There's my videos and cameras. We're doing this. I think life is way too short for us to have just one career, one vocation. And maybe stand-up is the amniotic soup from which other things will blossom, right? So thank you for sharing that. And I like when you were sharing, there's this very important story that's happened in your life. And I love the way how you recognize that attention shifts, right? And the perspective and context matter a lot when someone's approaching a situation. And I've seen that there's a lot of hate against comics, and there's a lot of commentary and conversation about hey, this is a political stance, you know, how can you say this? And unfortunately, online, almost every conversation is split into us versus them, or they believe that there's just the existence of one axis, right? It's like right and wrong. Like, no, there are so many other axes, but internet is where nuance goes to die. So
That's true.
tough luck, man.
Yeah, man. But
All right.
but that's the thing. Like, if you're a comic and you want to just make it, just put it out, see what happens. It's fine. Haters, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could always make one more interesting, more provocative take if you so choose.
That's true.
Where can people find you online?
You can find me on Instagram at Friendly Jaleel. You can also find me on YouTube at Aaquib Jaleel. You
Mhm.
can also find me at Brookfield at Zolives.
Oh shit! I completely forgot. We were supposed to talk about hobby stores.
Yes.
Maybe we'll have to come back for another episode because this is already. I think we're closing it on an hour.
Yeah,
Nope,
it's a
we just
long-
crossed an hour too. So
Oh, shit.
yeah, I want to say thank you so much for sharing all of this. I really appreciate sharing everything about attention, and you know, of course, through the lens of a stand-up comic, gives me a different perspective. I'll probably summarize all of these as well, and when I'm writing it up, I'll share the link with you. So, domo arigatou gozaimasu, Aaquib sama. I hope I got that right.
That was awesome.
Thank you so much.